Hey everyone. So, not that long ago, I saw this movie called Idiocracy. It's basically about this guy who gets cryogenically frozen and wakes up in the distant future where everyone is pretty much at the level of mental retardation or below that line. And it's supposed to be a comedy movie. However, I found it pretty disturbing at the same time just because that weird dark reality kind of mirrors our own. It just seems like nowadays people are making it seems nowadays that there's just this large population, large segment of the American population that's completely brain dead. They're making these asinine arguments that have nothing to do with logic or facts. It's all based on emotion. And with regard to the shooting recently in Philadelphia of Walter Wallace Jr., I'm seeing the same asinine arguments being made. And I've seen these arguments being made to defend criminals, unarmed criminals attacking police, and it's still there's still no logic there. But at least I can have that conversation, though. But now these arguments are being used to defend armed, violent assailants attacking police, and nothing that the radical left does anymore really shocks me. But I was quite taken aback by what happened in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, when that crazy, unhinged lunatic Ricardo Muniz ran after the cop with a knife and was trying to kill him, and the cop shot him in order to defend himself. And people were actually rioting about this. I was just shocked by that people were actually rioting because a cop shot a guy who was trying to stab him with a knife. And, I want to address some of these asinine arguments that keep popping up. One of them is that, when those of us who support law enforcement, we make the argument that the cops have a dangerous job and, they sometimes have to do what they have to do to protect their lives and lives of others. I'm seeing this counter argument. People are like, oh, well, people don't have to be cops. People make the choice to become cops. And whereas people are born black or as a different skin color. And first of all, the argument is silly because the cops are not committing genocide against black people. I've said this so many times. I linked in the description some statistics to show you that is completely not true. Furthermore, the argument makes no sense because we need cops. Since we need cops, of course, people are going to gravitate towards that profession. People who feel that it's their calling, or their vocation, or their passion, they will become cops. And they just want to serve their community that way. And so are the people who are making this argument presupposing that society doesn't need cops? And of course that assertion is completely absurd. Look what happened in Minnesota. Even the people who wanted to defund the police department, now they're complaining because crime's on the rise. And it's just like, whoa, how did that happen? And, I'm seeing this argument too, oh, the cop could have just shot the guy in the arm or the leg. And this is silly for several reasons. For one, law enforcement, we're trained to shoot at center mass because we're trying to stop the threat, one. Second of all, it's a bigger target, center mass. If you're trying to stop the threat, someone coming at you, it's much easier to hit, the chest, stomach, all the vital organs, and it'll stop the threat. Whereas arm or leg is a pretty small target in comparison, and much easier to miss. I mean, you could easily fire past arm and leg and hit someone in the background, and then you're going to get crucified even more because you shot an innocent person. I'm seeing the argument about tasing someone, it being 2-on-1. The cops could just tackle them, and this is just ridiculous because, first of all, tasers don't always work. I've seen myriad videos of cops tasing an offender and him not going down and continuing to fight. So if someone's coming out with a knife, coming at you with a lethal weapon, it would be dumb to tase that person because if it doesn't incapacitate them, then you're done. You're going to get injured or maimed. It being 2-on-1, people say, oh, there was 2 cops, there was 3 cops there, they could have wrestled with the guy. No, that doesn't make any sense either because even if you wrestle with the guy, at least one of the cops is going to get maimed or killed by the guy with the knife. So, I mean, do you like those odds? If you're 2 cops approach this guy, I mean, one of you is probably going to get seriously hurt. So, doesn't matter if you have more than one person. If the one guy has a knife, it doesn't matter. That renders that argument completely invalid. And the same goes for tackling. I'm not going to tackle someone with a knife. I actually saw a comment from this social worker on social media. He commented on someone's post, and he was basically saying that, they're taught to use hand-to-hand tactics to disarm someone with a knife, and I just thought that was hilarious. I mean, you can have fun with that, man. But if you want to be stupid and get cut, go for it. But for those of us who would rather not be slashed or cut or maimed or killed, we'll stop the threat in the most efficient manner possible. And for cops who have firearms, it would be the firearm that would stop that threat. And I'm seeing this argument about people with criminal records not deserving to die. No one's making that argument. People are saying that cops do what they need to do in the moment to stop the threat. If someone's coming at them trying to take their life, or they're threatening the lives of others. Bringing up someone's criminal record for context, yes, that can be helpful to do just so you kind of know who the cops were dealing with. But no one's saying that anyone deserves to die because of a criminal record. And this argument about, I'm seeing so many arguments that the police, they need to de-escalate the situation. And I would argue that they already do. They are trained in that. Police departments across the country train that. But at a certain point, de-escalation only goes so far. The cops can tell a guy to drop the knife. They can talk him down. They can do whatever, But at the end of the day, if the offender doesn't want to de-escalate, then it leaves the cops with no choice. What do you really want the cops to do? You can't put all the responsibility on them. Like, doesn't the offender have some responsibility? This other argument, too, about mental health. First of all, I think people are conflating mental health with morality. Just because someone's mentally ill doesn't mean they do not know the difference between right and wrong. You can be mentally ill and know what you're doing is wrong. A lawyer for this family, Shaka Johnson, he said that the police officers need to be better trained to deal with someone in a crisis. And I would argue, no, they don't. I felt they dealt with the situation just fine. The lawyer is saying that he knew that the guy was in a crisis. People knew he was in a crisis. And I'm like, so what? Do we have to accommodate bad behavior now? Just because someone can't control themselves? It's the cops' fault that they defend themselves. It's just completely unreal. And the other day, too, I was reading this post on LinkedIn. It was on the London Metropolitan Police Department page. And now, most of the police officers in the UK are unarmed. Only their officers on the Special Operations Unit carry, or like the Anti-Terrorism Unit. So it's a pretty small number. And the rest of the cops only carry handcuffs, baton, taser, pepper spray. And so this post was about officers who were being nominated for the 2020 National Police Bravery Awards. And I just want to read you something. One example they cited really disturbed me. PC Stuart Alton suffered horrific injuries in a violent machete assault. Despite suffering 6 head wounds, a fractured skull, slash wounds, broken fingers, and injured tendons, PC Alton deployed his taser to subdue the attacker. His taser. That's all he had. He didn't have a firearm. He had to use his taser. Now, this guy's a hero, no doubt, but it's just a shame he had to get maimed like that. If he was armed, he could have just shot the assailant, but he wasn't armed. He only had a taser, and I guess that's what the left approves of. They just want the cops to tase everyone. And I guess that's what the left wants. They want cops to be hurt or maimed, so long as their precious malefactors are not killed or injured or maimed. It just shows you where their priorities are. And if you really want to make the argument that cops are the bad guys in this scenario when someone's chasing them with a knife, and that anyone who defends the cops are bad, and it just says a lot about you. It shows that you lack character and you have no moral compass. I can explain logically how this makes you immoral. You are basically making the argument that the cops don't have a right to defend themselves. You are saying that it's better for them to be injured or maimed or killed as long as the life of the assailant is spared. So the cop needs to get hurt or killed because a violent criminal can't control himself. And think about this. The cops are the only thing standing between those violent criminals and us. So if and when the police are no more and it's just we who are standing up to these bullies, you would be attacking us for standing up to them. So it's okay for the cops to get victimized. If it's okay for the cops to get victimized, and you're saying that it's okay for us to get victimized, because you identify with and sympathize with the violent malefactors more than you do us. It's like being mad at the firefighters for putting out the fire because you had some kind of weird affinity with the fire they put out. It doesn't matter how the fire started, only that it was raging out of control and it had to be put down before someone else got hurt. And I just want to make one final point about the looting and the rioting. This just shows how evil people are. They don't care about justice or black lives. These anarchists, Black Lives Matter, and Antifa, they're destroying black-owned businesses and the lives of black people who live there. It's not just black people's lives they're ruining everyone's lives, but, I mean, no one cares about the minorities, including the black lives that are being destroyed here. I don't hear Black Lives Matter talking too much about that or raising a ruckus about this. They're too busy, impugning the cops for defending themselves. So, Black Lives Matter, Antifa, everyone participating in this looting and rioting are criminals. They're staying on society and nothing more. And if you're defending these people, it says a lot about you. So, thanks for watching. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. God bless you guys.